Thank you, everyone, for being here. Wow, like everyone's on this side of the room except for a few here. Okay, sit on that side to balance it out. All right, there's no place like home. It started with a dead body found in the pool outside my apartment. That's how the movie scene would start. Then there would be a flashback, 5 years back. I'm in a leadership course with an Ivy League professor. The course is just another attempt added to the long line of activities over many years that I've undertaken to quell the deep unrest inside, the palpitation of heart, a body in a constant state of alertness. This is where it really starts. The teacher says if you're a leader and you have trauma in your background, you've got to figure that out or it will surface in your work. I start to check out here. I'm a teacher myself. I've studied the ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. I know them well. But this list is different. He puts up a slide and something catches my eye. Back surgery. And there the movie really begins. 35 years before, in my early teens, I suffered from severe scoliosis. My spine grew into a twist with one hip much higher than the other, one shoulder sunken in. Our body and its parts work together to compensate. When one bone is out of alignment, the others shift until my spine turned me into a gnarled trunk. So my spine was broken apart and reassembled. I wore braces, and later I had rods put in, and I was shoved back into the world and told nothing more is needed. You'll be fine. Things weren't fine. That's when I began holding my breath. The lecture of this professor, it provoked a curiosity. I immediately called my sister, a professor of counseling. She gave me names of books to start reading, and they all said the same thing. Along with other bodily experiences I'd had as a child, falls and burns and serious dental work, corporal punishment. My body was on fire. I read research on lumbar surgery and how it impacts the brain and nervous system. For many people with this kind of surgery, when your core is literally broken, your mind shifts. People struggle to engage that part of the body. Your body is in a constant state of fear. My body constantly holding its breath. Well, every action has a response in an attempt at finding equanimity. When my body became fear, I escaped to my mind. I searched for joy in books and painting and crocheting and storytelling, activities that don't require a body so much. I became engulfed in my work as a teacher and later as an administrator. These mind escapes gave me temporary comfort, but no resolution. I still wasn't in my body. I needed to find my body, and I needed to find my breath. I noticed a few blocks from me was a dance studio. I loved music, played guitar and sang, and I always wanted to learn how to dance. So in my attempt to connect to my body, I called them up and asked for private lessons. I didn't even know what kind of dance. I held my breath as I opened the door to the ballroom studio the first day. Fancy shoes for sale on display and dance clothes hanging on the walls. What was I doing here? When I met my teacher, Sergey, he asked what I wanted to learn. I had no idea. He said, "We'll start with salsa." I could barely even stand for a 45-minute lesson and hoped he didn't notice. For the next 2 years, I would take private lessons and eventually group classes. In the beginning, my body was in such shock. It triggered my amygdala. I'd have outer body experiences and freeze up. I had to learn how to feel one muscle connecting to another, feel how to take a step, feel how lifting a knee impacts the hip and the torso, the shoulder. For 2 years, Sergey would walk the ballroom floor with me, holding my wrist, taking steps, and then asking me to turn so I could feel the shift of my own weight. And my body began to feel it. But it was a constant struggle. I did learn how to dance, but the fear in my body never went away. And that was clear from one thing. Sergey constantly had to remind me to breathe. I held my breath the entire time as if I was bracing for sudden impact. I could not let go. My brain and body were still separate. Through all of this, I'd been studying Buddhism. I started learning meditation. I was really drawn to impermanence and learning about how attachment breeds suffering. I was in therapy, working through the layers of trauma I discovered. I was peeling the layers of all the behaviors I had developed to feel worthy, feel good, feel alive, while I was still detached from my core. These behaviors had woven an entangled web of codependence in my work, care work, as a leader of a school for young children. For years, I had overfunctioned, struggled with delegation, struggled with saving and mothering people, doing other people's work for them. As I began disentangling, shifting my leadership style, expecting others to be responsible for their own work, well, humans are humans. Some rose to the occasion and others revolted. For years, the work had been highly intense. People who loved me had questioned why I stayed. But now the words were different. Toxic. Abusive. I didn't want to hear it. I was too afraid. I clung to my work because it encompassed all that gave me relevance as a human. And I had been there so long, until the day the body was found. I couldn't sleep the night before. I woke up unable to breathe. I went to sit on my tiny patio up next to the pool. It must have been 2 or 3 in the morning. There were some young men in the pool, being loud, and a few older men sitting on the lounge chairs. I watched them, perplexed, being so loud in the middle of the night. What were they doing? I eventually went back in and fell asleep on my couch just inside the patio door. The next morning I woke up, made coffee, sat back down, tried to read. My chest hurt so badly. I couldn't breathe. The stress of my job, it had gotten so bad. Even on the weekends, I felt like a deer running from the hunter. I left my apartment, walking right by the pool, stuck in my head, and went to get lunch at a local Chinese restaurant. I checked my email as I ate alone. There was a message from my apartment complex. A body had been discovered that morning in the pool, an unidentified man. I couldn't finish eating. I went home, sat back on my couch, realizing I had been just a few paces away from a man taking his last breaths. He didn't know he was going to die that morning when he woke up. I didn't know if it was foul play, a heart attack, drug-related, or some kind of tragic drowning. I thought about this man as a baby, a boy, and becoming a man. He had been loved. He likely loved. He had felt happiness and he had felt pain. And his life ended in an instant. I felt the stress in my body as I considered this man's life, and I knew if I didn't change something drastically, I would be him. I would have a heart attack or a breakdown or something worse. So the next day I held my breath and I put my resume out. It felt crazy to me. I had wanted to stay at my job for the rest of my life, and honestly, although I had won awards and known I was good at my work, I didn't think anyone would want me. But I put my resume out, and I got big hits, many hits, from great organization. As I looked for work, the conditions at my current job sped up. The conditions were ripe for a tornado. I knew I had to leave to survive, so I did the unthinkable. In an act of faith, I held my breath, wrote my letter of resignation with a 6-week notice to care for the school amidst the transition. The resignation was accepted first with dismay that I had only given 6 weeks. And then in a very corporate move, a reaction to my desire to disentangle, I was locked out of everything. 12 years of keynote addresses I had written, my whole career's worth of puppets and books and carefully crafted learning materials throughout the entire building, my paintings and musical instruments. I had studied impermanence. I knew they were just belongings, and if I had to, I could leave them behind. But eventually I was let back in. A team of friends helped me pull everything into the middle of the school, boxes and boxes up to the ceiling, spanning the length of the school. I cried. I felt sick. Although I loved my job and I was good at it, I knew underneath the desire to create and connect was a little girl who had lost her breath. That Monday, I showed up at Dallas Meditation Center. For me, it was my fight to survive. I still was feeling the aftershocks of what happened. It was ethereal walking away, but I'd have moments when my body would suddenly shake uncontrollably. And that's how I showed up to DMC. June was my Glinda the Good Witch, who greeted me with kindness and gentleness. As I walked the noonday meditation, no place to be, nowhere to go, here, now. There was nothing more true. The tornado had hit and I'd lost everything. Henry Nouwen, the prolific writer in Catholic spirituality, talks about the stages of spiritual development. He says the first stage is learning to be alone with yourself. This year, a year spent mostly in solitude in my apartment, has been facing my aloneness. It felt crazy at first. I was so used to doing and speaking and guiding and directing every minute of the day. But eventually I started to regulate. And slowly I started to breathe. I joined the grief group here at DMC. The first meeting, Cheryl read to us from her book. She said, "We are made to heal." I believed her because I had to. She set me on the golden road. The others, my friends with their own stories and pain and searching, together we walked the road. I listened to their stories, the weirdness of closing up the lives of their loved ones. It isn't easy work. We all collect so many layers that we can't take with us. Although I busied myself starting a new degree and constantly interviewing, there were days I struggled to get out of bed. If everything is impermanent, if you can't take your relationships, your good deeds, your beliefs, your friends, your creations, and certainly not your belongings with you when you die, then what is the point? Coming to meditation, sitting and learning to find my breath, it helped me. I began to feel lighter, even in the very long months of uncertainty, waiting to find the next job. Some of the people in my life struggled witnessing how I'd been treated and seeing my pain. It was too hard for them, and maybe they were too shut off from their own feelings. They pushed me to move quickly through my feelings. But centered in my breath, I knew I needed to feel what I needed to feel. I could only walk the golden path one brick at a time. The grief group gave space once a month. For 10 minutes, I could talk and share and cry and be with people exactly where I was. And they gave no advice. There were no expectations for plans on how to move forward, just breathing and being. The funny thing is, when you start to breathe, when you step away from the stories you've clung to, when you let go of the attachments you've created to protect yourself, the things you thought were important, the things you thought would heal you, show as illusion. The wizard isn't a wizard. He's just a man pulling levers behind a curtain. The Tin Man finds he always had a heart. The lion always had courage, and Scarecrow was smart all along. And Dorothy found all she needed to do was click her heels to find her way home. And for me, home was my breath. So finally, after months and months finding my breath, I started a new journey this week. I'm headed to Kansas for a new job, the land where my father grew up and my ancestors are buried. I go to take care of children in the state where my grandparents were once house parents for an orphanage many years ago. There's no place like home. Thich Nhat Hanh recommended reading the Buddha Sutra on the full awareness of breathing once, often, even once a month. He said that breathing is the path home. Buddha's words help us learn to calm our mind, settle into our breath in a healthy way, an honest way that focuses and integrates our mind, body, and spirit. The breath is the golden road. Full awareness is mindfulness. This is the core of what we do. This is our practice. There are 16 exercises divided into 4 sections, and today you experienced all 16. But you can take one at a time or a section at a time and meditate in that way before moving on. There are 2 skills used throughout to gain full awareness, to gain mindfulness: stopping and observing. Sometimes it takes a tornado in our lives to force us to stop. But with practice, we can learn to stop without so much pain. Observing is not about controlling or filtering. It's about noticing movement, like Sergey gently holding my hand, walking the ballroom floor to help me feel my weight shift. The first 2 exercises are there to help us stop unnecessary thinking. Breathing in a long breath. I know I'm breathing in a long breath. Breathing out a long breath. I know I'm breathing out a long breath. And the same with the short breath. The length doesn't matter. We can allow our bodies to breathe as they need to, but we're aware. And this can be taken into our daily lives of cooking and cleaning and petting our animals and hugging our lovers. Breathe and be aware. Breathing in, I'm aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I'm aware of my whole body. Ty says that breathing is the vehicle that brings us home to our body. If we do not come back home to our body and care for it, who will? When we come home to sit, our body breathes a sigh of relief and says, "She has come at last." Just love his words. This is how we integrate our body and mind. Breathing in, I calm my whole body. Breathing out, I calm my whole body. Calming the body calms the breathing. Calming the breathing calms the mind. After my storm, the walking and meditating helped me release the internal shakes. My breathing and my mind began to calm. Breathing in, I feel joyful. Breathing out, I feel joyful. Breathing in, I feel happiness. Breathing out, I feel happiness. Joy and happiness in Buddhism are defined differently. Joy is the knowledge of freedom coming. It's the Friday before a vacation. In meditation, joy is knowing that something is coming, good is coming with our breath. Happiness is more than joy. Ty shares Buddha's story here about a man in a desert about to die of thirst who sees an oasis. These are his words. The man feels joy and excitement. His mind and body race toward the pool, and he bends down, puts his hands in the water, and brings the water to his mouth. Until the very last moment before he drinks the water, the joy is there. His hands are shaking from excitement. But when he finally drinks the water, he tastes real happiness, and his excitement disappears. His commentary here adds additional options, such as breathing in, I am aware of my Sangha protecting me. Breathing out, I feel joy. This part of our practice is learning to allow ourselves to feel good with little effort. to feel nourished. Breathing in, I am aware of my mental formations. Breathing out, I am aware of my mental formations. Breathing in, I calm them. Breathing out, I calm them. Here we begin to observe our feelings, not control them, not bypass them. Become aware. Our breath becomes our own grief group. My grief sangha provided a supportive space to let the feelings flow. But we all have that space each time we sit and breathe. Meditation should not be a cattle hold. It's not an aggressive act of forcing. It's gentle flow and release. Tai says, if we have an unpleasant feeling, we take that feeling in our arms like a mother holding her baby. The mother is mindfulness, and the crying baby is the unpleasant feeling. Mindfulness and conscious breathing are able to calm the feeling. If we do not hold the unpleasant feeling in our arms, but allow it just to remain in us, it will continue to make us suffer. And here are additional words he suggests for meditation. Breathing in, I touch the unpleasant feeling in me. Breathing out, I touch the unpleasant feeling in me. We stop creating barriers in ourselves for what is good and what is bad. It is all part of life. Mud and lotus. Next, we learn to care for and liberate our minds. Breathing in, I am aware of my mind. Breathing out, I am aware of my mind. We learn to witness the tangled narratives bouncing around in our heads. They're just stories. When we release them, they lose their grip. When I first delved into my trauma story, I wasn't breathing. I understood the research. It all made sense. But I held so tightly to the mental formations of my story, I couldn't release my trauma. As I learned to breathe and release my mind, I wasn't a broken girl or a broken woman. I was just a girl, a woman who had experienced things, and I didn't have to hold on to them. Breathing in, I make my mind happy. Breathing out, I make my mind happy. Tai often speaks of meditating with a slight smile to invoke the joy. That small physical pose of the lips opens the mind and the heart. The night Venerable Susang came and visited us, I opened my eyes during meditation. I saw his supreme, gentle body and the slight smile on his face, and my heart opened. I knew I wanted to meditate like that. Breathing in, I concentrate my mind. Breathing out, I concentrate my mind. This is one-pointedness, focusing on a point on the floor in front of you or the rim of your nostril through which breath flows. It could be a quality that you're focusing on, courage or wisdom or a heart. If the mind is negative, we still don't force. Tai says we nurture the bad feeling like tending a fire. We observe and care for it. Breathing in, I liberate my mind. Breathing out, I liberate my mind. Here we let go of the knots in our mind, the memories and fixations that tie us to suffering. Imagine the tangled ball of yarn in your mind. slowly each strand coming loose and pressure releasing. The negative thoughts, the clinging thoughts, even the addictive thoughts, all start to come loose. And when they are free, there is such relief. Each time we come to the cushion, we find our beginner's mind again. We find freshness. We find the purest breath. We find ourselves. Breathing in, I observe the impermanent nature of all things. Breathing out, I observe the impermanent nature of all things. Here today, gone tomorrow. Yes, nothing is forever. If we run from this, we cling so tightly. It's a state of suffering. I clung to a job for years and years, and you have your things. Maybe it's a relationship or a house. Maybe it's a belief, but clinging causes suffering. We need not fear impermanence. It's just movement. Although I've made plans to come visit DMC again and still give Dharma talks, my grief group friends had a real talk with me. They said, I need to be open to setting down new roots. Two wonderful things about impermanence. While we can't hold on to particular comforts or particular conditions of happiness forever, suffering also is impermanent. And the second thing, impermanence means there's always opportunity for new growth, like the seasonal cycle of spring. Breathing in, I see the disappearance of desire. Breathing out, I see the disappearance of desire. Here we see the heart of the Dharma. Happiness is not something in the future. It's not Oz. It's here right now, in the moment. We don't need to pull or manipulate or reach or control to try to get what we need. It is right here, right now, in our breath. You don't need the PhD, the perfect body, the new car, the confirmation of others. You don't need the lover, the expensive shoes, the fancy meal. You don't need the alcohol or the thrill. Whoever you are right now, wherever you are right now, whatever you have or don't have, you don't need to live outside of your own self. Finally, breathing in, I observe cessation. Breathing out, I observe cessation. Some moments, cessation is a tornado. But what cessation really means is stopping all of our erroneous ideas, our erroneous narratives, our erroneous behavior, and our erroneous habits that cause us suffering. Stopping is finding what needs clearing out. Stopping is finding what we don't need, what wears us down, the clothes and ideas that no longer fit. Stopping is finding what is creating barriers in our heart and mind. And now the real finally. Breathing in, I observe letting go. Breathing out, I observe letting go. The breath is what allows the process of letting go to not be so scary. When you know, you know. Through breathing, I found I could leave it all. I could leave a job, a title, a community, a relationship. I could leave unhelpful beliefs about myself and others around me. In the last few weeks preparing for my move, I've gotten rid of most of my clothes, more than half my books, remnants of so many lives I've lived that I've clung to. Breathing allowed me ease in this task. Breathing helped me come to terms with losing my writing. I have new stories waiting to be written. And right here, right now, in this moment, you have new stories too. All those exercises, gosh, sometimes I think Buddha was so smart. He gave us a path home, and there's no place like it. So I'm going to end with a poem by Sister Annabel Laity, and I think, did I leave the book there? If you wouldn't mind bringing it to me. So she was a follower of Thich Nhat Hanh and director of practice at Plum Village for many years, and this poem is in the front of his commentary, Breathe, You Are Alive, on this sutra. Breathe, you are alive. Breathe and you know you are alive. Breathe and you know all that is helping you. Breathe and you know you are the world. Breathe and you know that the flower is breathing too. Breathe for yourself and you breathe for the world. Breathe in compassion and breathe out joy. Breathe and be one with the air that you breathe. Breathe and be one with the river that flows. Breathe and be one with the earth that you tread. Breathe and be one with the fire that glows. Breathe and you break the thought of birth and death. Breathe and you see that impermanence is life. Breathe for your joy to be steady and calm. Breathe for your sorrow to flow away. Breathe to renew every cell in your blood. Breathe to renew the depths of consciousness. Breathe and you dwell in the here and now. Breathe and all you touch is new and real.